Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pod Ones podcast, episode 112 with my co-host Hereth. Today we're going to be talking about some Star Wars news. Jon Favreau is going to be directing The Mandalorian and the Grogu. My thoughts are, do we need it? But without further ado, let's get into it.
The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
Okay, thank you for saying this. I'm going to call this section the three major questions. Do you think Lucasfilm's decision to turn season 4 into a movie is driven by Bob Iger cutting the Disney Plus budget for shows? Or is it influenced by Disney shareholders' eagerness to have Star Wars back in theaters?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I would lean towards more, hey, we haven't had a Star Wars movie coming out in 5 years. Mando's doing really well. Why don't we throw that on there? Jon Favreau has done hit after hit. My thing is, wait, hold on. No. Get to your second question. Go
Okay.
second question.
Are you concerned that The Mandalorian and Grogu going to a movie now is going to water down the depth and character development we could have got for both Din and Grogu?
I don't think so. I think this is going to be a separate story, but like in continuity with everything. I think it's going to set up season 4. I think it's going to be a time where it's like, hey, let's do a little bit more lore on these guys.
And then finally, the third and final question of this discussion. Do you reckon Lucasfilm is taking fan feedback a little too seriously?
Okay, so this goes into what I was going to say earlier. People are responding to this because of the backlash of the Ray director of what they think it's a PR save. No, it's not a PR save. Let me just say that right now. Lucasfilm didn't just say, "Oh, well, we got to get the fans back on board. Let's announce the Mandalorian movie." Like, what are we doing here? This has nothing to do what was happening last week in the Star Wars fan base. It has nothing to do with it. They are not correlated. This is to get hype going for and get people excited for Mandalorian, which I don't think you really have to do.
Yeah.
But I think they did this because the push on Acolyte is going to be starting here pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why I think they did this was because, like I said, this was rumored for months. Like, people are like, is season 4 going to happen or is it a movie? And like, I also think the other reason why they're doing this as well, like, I know Pedro Pascal has been a little bit less in The Mandalorian. Like, he hasn't filmed anything for Boba Fett in season 3. It was mostly been voice acting roles. But with Pedro getting more busy with Last of Us Part 2, potentially going to be Reed Richards in the MCU, and everything he's doing with A24, it's like the time Pedro has is getting less and less and less. That they need to start shooting it now.
No, yeah, and I think that, well, and it goes into production later this year, which later this year is probably going to be July, either July or August of this next year, which
makes sense,
puts it at, honestly, I could see them releasing it holiday of 2025.
They should stick to the December release slate. They should not move from that.
Agreed. They shouldn't move from that. I think it would be huge. I mean, The Mandalorian, I think that's just a slam dunk, especially with Ray's movie is supposed to be starting filming here pretty soon, like in the next couple of months. So
it's going to be back-to-back Star Wars season.
So we'll get, well, no, wait, hold on. Okay, filming starts. No, I think we don't see it until 26. Never mind. I think Mando comes out in 26. Ray will come out in 25.
Ooh. And then, okay, so I guess we also got to, I know it's not confirmed, but do you want to address the elephant in the room with the rumors that apparently they're turning the Mando 2 movies into a trilogy?
I think that makes sense.
I just don't think everything needs to be a trilogy.
But I also think it's Star Wars. It's always been in threes.
This is where the hot takes start to come in. Personally, this decision to me didn't feel like a creative decision. It felt like a Disney, Bob Iger, studio enforced, like, you have to turn this into a movie decision.
See, I don't think so. I don't get everybody's like gripes. We're also benefiting from these financial decisions.
And like, my thing is like the Mando movie in general is like, I'm generally like, there will always be the what if scenario of what it would have been like if it was a season of television. So I wonder how that's going to work now with the movie. Like, are those elements getting removed? Like, how?
No,
is that
because season 4 is still happening.
Wait, I'm so confused. I thought this was replacing season 4.
No,
it's Filoni movie is a separate production entirely.
No. We're getting Mando movie, Mando season 4, and Dave's movie, and we're getting Ahsoka.
That is That's so confusing. I thought it was
No.
season 4 is out of the picture. It's
No.
now the Mando movie,
No.
then the Filoni movie, then
They
Ahsoka season
never
2 is
mentioned
Skeleton
they
Crew.
didn't so in Star Wars' release, it didn't say season 4 was happening. But then Deadline followed up with Lucasfilm, and it said that season 4 is still in active development.
Okay, now this changes how everything I feel about this because I thought it was, "Oh, we're getting rid of season 4,"
No,
and then now
they're not getting rid of season 4. So what I think they're going to do, they're going to do a Din and Grogu, which would have been 3 episodes of season 4. They didn't want to do 3 episodes of season 4 of just Din and Grogu. They decided to make that into a movie. Them hunting stormtroopers and shit. That was supposed to be season 4. Will be the 2-hour movie, 2.5-hour movie, right? Okay. They do that, set up Thrawn again in Mando season 4, which combines with Ahsoka, and then you do Ahsoka season 2, and then you release the Filoni movie.
which makes sense because there are gonna be people that naturally only watch the first 2 seasons of Mando, hasn't watched anything since, and they don't know what's going on in the picture of the Mandoverse, so watching this movie will kind of fill them in like, "Oh, here's who Thrawn is. Oh, this is what's going on here. Oh."
Funny thought. What if this is just Rangers of the New Republic that John is doing? It's just Mando and Grogu as Rangers of the New Republic.
I honestly would not hate that title where it's like the Mandalorian: the Rangers of the New Republic. I wouldn't hate that title at
I
all.
think it makes sense because they are now working for the New Republic. That's honestly I think that's probably the best option. I think that's probably what could happen.
The Rangers of the New Republic, a Mandalorian story.
Ooh, actually I like that. I like that a lot actually. Yeah, no, but think about it though. So you set up the 2.5-hour movie, right? You don't have to waste 3 episodes of television of a series that you're going to do. Build off from that 2-hour, 2-hour to 2.5-hour movie and get in the meat and potatoes of season 4. Maybe have it connect with season 2 of Ahsoka, and then bam, you have your Dave movie. I think it's more likely that we are going to get the movie, season 4, Ahsoka season 2, then Dave movie, which contradicts the 3 films of Mando. Because honestly, why do you need 3 films of Mando when you're doing season 2 of Ahsoka and Dave's getting his movie? Like that makes no sense.
And I've kind of been on the hill of like with Star Wars, where it's like after the Skywalker saga is over, we need to move away from the concept of trilogies. We just need to keep doing standalone stories.
And I
We can
think
still
you
do
will.
Mandoverse stories. We don't need it to be 3 acts. We can have it be 2 movies, or if they want to do 4 movies, I don't care. Like just get away from 3. Yeah. I don't know. Like when the more I'm getting older, the more I'm getting more pessimistic. When I heard the news, I was just like, I kind of just went with the Mando movie, the worst case scenario. I was just like, are we losing Disney Plus shows because of this? Like, what is going to be kind of the outcome of this change? Because like the movie is going to be made at like $100 million budget. It's going to be like it's not going to be as big as most Star Wars.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be up there. I think they're putting a lot of emphasis into this movie, which I'm fine with because Star Wars is awesome on the big screen. I prefer it in the Disney Plus side of it, because I feel like you get more time with the characters. You get more story time, you get more this and that. But I also think that if they do this movie correctly, it could help out season 4 so much.
I wonder if Rick Famuyiwa is going to get a Star Wars movie.
I
wouldn't
doubt it.
Is true. If the trilogy rumor is true, let's say like we're taking it face
or
it would be John, Rick Famuyiwa, then Dave Filoni.
I think John gets the movie, Rick Famuyiwa gets the whole season of season 4, and then Dave gets his movie. I think that's more likely. And then if Rick does really well on season 4 by himself, I think then there's the chance of him getting the movie.
I personally think he's earned it by this point. He's directed some of the best episodes of Star Wars television.
He's done really, really well. I don't know. I don't disagree, but I know how you kind of know Hollywood.
Speaking of Hollywood fuck-ups.
Yeah.
We could get into the David Benioff and D.B. Weiss news of it all.
Yeah.
Of like them inserting themselves back into the Star Wars circuit for whatever reason.
Yeah. So apparently DB, I don't D&D, who gives a fuck?
David Benioff and
DB Weiss, whatever.
DB Weiss.
Douche 1 and Douche 2. um, said that their canceled Star Wars project was going to be the beginning of the Jedi Order and the first lightsaber. Wow, how ironic that they said, "Oh, well, Disney didn't want to do it," and then ends up doing the same concept but with fucking James Mangold.
Also, someone said it perfectly on Twitter. I think it was ND Wise guy. Funny enough, I'm going to quote him exactly. It wasn't like they were the only one thinking of this concept. I remember people talking about this in early 2010s YouTube being like, wouldn't this be a cool concept? Like a Force religion trilogy with the Jedi Order? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Like, I think that's the most asinine thing. Like, how do you where do you get off? You think you were the only motherfuckers that thought of, "Oh, let's think of the beginning of the Force," and no. This has been a concept that people have talked about, just like Harris said, for years. Years. It all started with Mortis, technically. I think that really started the conversation. Like, how did the Force start? And then also
Yeah.
Yoda's arc in season 6. Like,
And Lucas for years was like, we're never touching that. That's something we're never going to touch. We're just going to keep hinting at it, but we're never going to do anything with it.
I like that
And
that
like,
I
yeah.
like that they're giving Mangold that. I think he is a
No,
hell of a writer and a hell of a director. And and that if I had to rank my excitement for the next theatrical releases, new like Daisy Ridley's Ray movie is up there, but Mangold's new Jedi, like the old, like the beginning of the Jedi, it's so much more interesting to me. It's not because I don't like Rey. Let me just preface that
yeah.
right now. I love Rey. I love her character. I'm meh about the sequels, but I genuinely love Daisy Ridley and I love her character. I just think getting into the beginning, the very, very beginning. Being a Tolkien fan has really like the bar of like creating like the beginning of things is like at an all-time high. Like that's so the way Tolkien is able to create the world and the mythos is just genius. And I feel like this could be Mangold could do it. Could do like the very beginning and it's very complex and that could turn into a 6 movie.
That could be a series of that. Hell, um, mutual of mine, CJ, we pitched the after the High Republic. That's what they should do next. Like they should let Mangold's movie be the kickoff of everything, and then the
Agreed.
next book, comic, and like
I think
games event should be
television.
the beginning of the Jedi.
I think yeah, I agree. Everything but make it all go together. Make
Yes,
it all
no,
go
agreed.
together. Like I understand like what they did with phase 1 and phase 2 of the High Republic, but like you're not going to get those fans to read those. I mean, the Acolyte might get people to watch to read the books and stuff like that. But I feel like if you have media that is centralized on an era, everything is happening at once. Video games are coming out in the same time period as the run as what's going on. Mangold's movie, and you're absolutely right. Have Mangold's movie be the kickoff, and then we just focus on that era for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. And like you can even separate it by a little bit, like where the books are a little bit ahead of the movie, so that way it doesn't really give anything away what Mangold's gonna do. But like you can still have it be connected while also
Yeah,
like giving Mangold time to work on what he wants
no,
to do
yeah,
with the movie
absolutely.
series.
Like, again, like that's my number one most anticipated film. Like
No, agreed.
for
I'm not
Star
trying to sound
Wars.
like, oh, like we're like I'm not trying to like go like, oh, we're the same, but like no, I agree with you. It's Mangold's movies,
Then
Ray's
Ray.
movie,
Yeah.
then because like the post episode 9 era, like that's such an interesting concept
That's
to me.
fascinating. That's fascinating. I think those two eras are very similar in the fact that there's the very beginning and
In the
then
very end.
well, depending on Star Wars is never really going to end.
Well, never ending, but like
Yeah,
the
never ending.
concept of
But
like this
the
is the farthest we're
concept
going in
is
the time of light.
yeah, right now. And I find that so fascinating that they could and the fact that they could possibly connect in a way with one singular it could be the old Jedi text, it could be we could see Mangold's character First Jedi writing the text. We could see all these things. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's the most crazy thing to happen in Star Wars is and now that we've talked about Mangold, let's talk a little bit about. Do we want to touch on last week? What happened last week? I mean, honestly, I
I
feel
was
like it's a
actually gonna
broken.
bring that up. I
Okay.
was actually gonna bring that up because
Okay.
funny enough, like with all the discourse that was happening with the whole like people ripping the Ray director out of like context about what she was saying and like
Yes.
because like the more because I remember I actually sat down and watched the full interview from start to finish just so
Yeah.
I can get the full context of everything.
Yeah.
And I remember saying all about our mutual creators like stitching it into death, and I was remember my initial reaction after finishing it, even though it had nothing to do with Star Wars, it was about her documentary in 2018.
Yeah.
Like, it had nothing to do with Star
Yeah.
Wars. My reaction was, "That was the perfect person to pick for New Jedi Order." That was literally my
Exactly.
reaction.
Exactly. And she has 2 Oscars. Name me
And, like,
another
7
director.
Emmys.
No. Name me another director that isn't named George Lucas that has no, Steven Spielberg didn't direct Star Wars. That has won a Oscar for either Best Picture or Best Director. She's got 2 of them. She's more than qualified to talk about women in Star Wars. She's more
And
qualified than George fucking Lucas. Let's be real here.
yeah, and also
She's
it's
more qualified than Dave fucking Filoni, who everybody puts on a pedestal. And rightfully so. He's done great things with Star Wars, but he's also made some not so great decisions with his writing and in some of the direction that he's taken. But this story is very, very important because you are talking about Rey. She needs a woman's touch. This is a female character, a female lead character, might I add. Not saying that men can't direct or whatever, but what she was saying in her CNN interview is that it's time it's about time that we have a woman leading a Star Wars film,
and
which is true.
why were
Which
why were
is
people,
true.
like, upset about that? I'm like when people were getting mad about that, I'm like,
Well,
"She's speaking the
no,
truth."
she
Like, what
speaks the
else do you
truth.
wanna
Yeah,
hear?
no, she's literally. Name me a Star Wars movie that has been
Yeah,
directed by a woman. I'll wait. Oh, wait. I won't have to wait. I know the answer. It's 0. It's
like
0.
when grifters were turning this in the
Oh,
news,
God. Well,
I was
did
just
they just
like I was
forget
like
about Deborah Chow? Did they forget about all of these women in the books? No, asshole. She was talking about the movies. Use
y
context clues. Google is fucking free. Use it. Don't
yeah,
don't fall into the fucking hole of clickbaity bullshit. It's annoying. Happens
yeah.
all the time, and I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah, and my thing was, is like I didn't want to speak on this at all because my thing was is I didn't want to take away from the women creators that have been talking about this and making valid points. I don't want to overshadow their voices. I want to highlight their voices and push them up because there are so many mutuals in this community. They deserve to talk about this movie. They need to talk about this what's going on with the grifters and like this isn't my situation to insert myself and be like, oh, F you, grifter.
Literally, we will give you a whole list of fucking female creators that day in, day fucking out have to prove their goddamn worth. And it's sad. It's sad. Star Wars is for everybody. I didn't think we'd have to go through this for the 18th fucking time. Women exist. Get over it. They deserve the limelight just as much as you and me. That's it. That should be the only conversation.
Re-fucking tweet.
I'm really excited for this year. There's a lot of things happening. I guess the next big thing is when do we get the Acolyte trailer? When do we get the Skeleton Crew trailer? Because it was
It's always
I thought it was rumored that Acolyte was going to come out in May.
well, if it comes out in okay, so Lucasfilm, I've always said this anytime anyone speculates about trailers with Lucasfilm, they have a very repeated pattern. Is they release a trailer 3 months before the show comes out. If it's a movie, it's about 6 months before. So if we're going show related, if you're saying May, I would say probably we'll get it around next month. If I had to guess, either late next month in February or early March would probably be the most realistic estimate for a trailer for Acolyte or Skeleton Crew. Depends what they want. They wanted to go first.
Yeah.
It's like pick your Star Wars show.
Well, or do we think Bad Batch comes out first?
The Bad Batch writer tweeting on
Yeah.
Twitter being like, oh, she's like, "You want me to drop the trailer?"
Oh, another thing that I think we should talk about to end the show. You watched The animated Battle of the Heroes, right? Correct?
The Heroes, yeah.
Loved it. Loved it.
No,
It
it's
it's fan film animation style done correctly. That's a true fan film. They announced that they were going to do it in 2020 and it was released 2 or 3 weeks ago around Christmas time. That's dedication, man. That's literally putting your heart and soul into a fan film and not profiting from it. They won't profit from
and
it. And they did it for the love
as
of Star Wars, and I commend them. I commend them
y
for doing that.
and I remember because like, I've tried to learn Blender before. Like, I've actually sat down and tried to learn one of these programs, and it's time
It
consuming.
is,
It's a pain in the ass. It's not easy. It's not straightforward.
especially for animation. Like, though, especially for Clone Wars animation. That's
Well
that's crazy.
well, think about it. They had to model it. They had to model these models
Yep.
from scratch
Yep.
to emulate what season 7 looked like. Then you had to add the textures to what they look like and paint them exactly how they look in season 7. Then you have to skeleton add every single little tiny bone in their fingers and their faces, and then you have to like add muscles on top of that, and then you have to animate it frame by frame. This sounds easier than what I'm saying. It's
No,
actually 100 times harder in the
it's
program.
well, think about that. It's 4 years worth of hard sweat, tears, and I'm pretty sure they did it all themselves.
Yeah, I was in their server. It was there was an animator and it was one person animating this, and then there was a sound designer and then an editor.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Like hats off to Hello There production. Like that was perfect. That was so perfect.
And
Oh god, so
And
good.
my thing, what I love about that fan film, because they could have easily just honed in on the duel and been like over on top of it and make it like the duel, but like more like dramatic. But no, they didn't do that. They made it about the characters,
Yeah,
which
agreed.
I think. Okay, like we teased it on the tier list video. We're gonna probably do a lightsaber tier list video eventually.
Yeah,
But my
eventually.
opinions about Battle of the Hero is I don't like it as much as Duel of the Fates. Agreeing with Char, I'm assuming this is what Char's opinion is because it focuses too much on the flashiness of the duel rather than what the characters are. And I think why I like the fan film better than the actual duel, even though I think live action is better than animation when it comes to that kind of stuff. But why I prefer this portrayal of it better is because it focuses on Anakin and Obi-Wan more than the flip over lava, swinging on vines and like slashing each other. It was more about what are these versions of these characters feeling like the little additions of like when like between the cuts of Palpatine and Yoda is we get moments of like
it doesn't have to end like this, Anakin.
The Empire will thrive under my rule, but you won't be alive to see it.
like that kind of stuff, or the addition of the Ahsoka campfire scene from
That was
the Crystal
great.
Crisis arc,
That was great.
and then not ending it after Obi-Wan's speech, and we're getting Padme's death
Ooh, yeah,
and
that hit hard.
and Clone Wars animation, and then Vader getting put in the suit. Because I remember watching it,
Dude,
feeling
Vader there looked fucking phenomenal.
I remember watching it, going, "Please give me more. Please tell me there's more after this." Like I remember like sitting there, like, "Oh, I want to see Anakin, this version of Anakin, in the suit. I want to see it."
So going back to your character focused, I agree with you, but I feel like the first half of the fight is very, and then that middle from the swinging to the vines, the swinging part, totally agree if they took that out and just had them jump onto like the platforms on the lava. I think if they cut it from when they drop down and the thing falls and they just jump, like they fall and they manage to get on top of those platforms instead of having Anakin do like a fucking flip onto that small little robot
And then
thing.
he looks like a fighting game character intro with the lightsaber twirl. And
Well,
like
I like that. I like that a lot because that's very, very, very accurate to Anakin's character there. So, but do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
from them being from the beginning to the inside to where the platform falls, and then in between from the platform falling and Anakin jumping onto that robot. I totally agree with you. They shouldn't have had that. But like after that moment, it's back to being about the characters.
My favorite part of the duel is the first half all the way until the duel of the fates transition back to Yoda and Palpatine. It's them in the corridor are fighting each other, like them choking each other, like out and like, kicking each other with the lightsabers. Like that's my favorite part of the duel because like I loved it when it was
hot
like
take.
because my favorite duel is like Kenobi, Return of the Jedi, and Obi-Wan versus Maul, because they're not, the fight doesn't matter. It's what are the characters internally
Yeah.
feeling
No.
inside of the fight.
So, hot take. Yoda, Palpatine should have been a completely different thing. They should not have cut back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Should have started with Palpatine, Yoda, let that whole thing play out, maybe shorten that, and then get into Obi-Wan Anakin.
I actually disagree.
Nah,
Because I feel like that's
I hate how
Star
it
Wars.
cuts. I hate how it cuts back and forth. It's so dumb.
To me, that's so Star Wars, though. There are multiple storylines happening at once. I
Yeah.
love the
Okay.
cross-connecting
All right,
and,
but
like,
but I will say
and
this.
cutting.
I will say this, Hereth. Your critique of Battle of the Heroes would be, I think it would be less critiqued if they weren't if they weren't switching focus. If we stuck with Anakin and Obi-Wan the entire fight, I think
Yeah.
it would have been better.
I agree and also disagree at the exact same time, which is really weird to say.
Fucking fence hopper.
I'm not being a fence hopper. I'm just saying, like, I like cross-cutting in Star Wars. I love when multiple things happen. It's some of my favorite
Not
moments.
there, because I know, because looking at the animation, there's so much left that they had that they could have done. Like, if they give Anakin Obi-Wan, like, if they gave Battle of the Heroes, it's just focus on that. I think it's a better fight than anything in the saga. But with you cutting back and forth with Yoda and Palpatine, which, by the way, that fight isn't even in, like, a lot of people's top fives. All right. I think this is a good place to end the podcast. There, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
I guess the good people can follow me at Hereth Productions on TikTok and Instagram, Hereth_edits on the X app, and then you can find me here at the Pod Ones.
You can find Char J on all social medias. Char J. Maybe he'll be back next week. Most likely he will.
Can we have a petition to rename Char's account to the #1 Bad Batch Stan?
Ooh, we'll have to run that by him. Maybe if he loses a bet. Oh, we should make a bet with him. Actually, that's a better idea. You can find me at Jedi Master Eggs on all social medias. You can find us at the Pod Ones on all social medias as well. Next week, we will be interviewing the one, the only, Mark Thompson. So you guys won't want to miss that. We'll have a whole bunch of clips from that episode that will be released during the week. And yeah, that's what we got. Episode 113 with Mark Thompson. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you never miss any of our content. And may the Force be with you always.